I'm going to start with the toughest one. This is a song I wrote for my wife for our 20th anniversary last year. Didn't get it released until after our 21st, but I wrote it for our 20th. It's called Never Turn Away. It's true, the first time I saw your face, it was then that I knew my heart had found its place. Hey, the first time you held my hand, stole my heart away, gave me strength to stand. I never knew I needed you till you came along. I got to tell you how I feel, I write it in a song. I thank the Lord I found you each and every day. I love you till forever, I'll never turn away. No, you're always there for me, and now I love you so. I always want to be the one that's always there for you, the place where you can run, love that's ever true. Never knew I needed you till you came along. I got to tell you how I feel, I write it in a song. I thank the Lord you found me each and every day. I love you till forever, I'll never turn away. Never turn away. "20 years of laughter, hope and joy and tears. Now all that I can ask for is another 20 years with you, with you, oh with you. Never knew I needed you till you came along. I got to tell you how I feel, I write it in a song. I thank the Lord for sending you each and every day. I love you till forever, I'll never turn away. Never turn away.
As an outsider looking in on the music community, it seems like y'all are a tight-knit community, though.
I think in a town the size of Sumter, everybody knows everybody, and pretty much everybody gets along, supports each other, and they seem to do that pretty well. So
Right.
It's a good bunch.
Like I know we're talking about Frank Ficklin, and something came up about him on Facebook, and Dave, is it Auerbach?
Auerbach,
Yeah, he's did our theme song. Dave immediately jumped in and was singing, Frank's praises, and I noticed that, like, you guys, y'all just seem to really have each other's back.
Well, you just mentioned Dave and Frank are two of the most amazing guitar players.
Yeah.
I've been in a couple of bands with Dave over the years.
Really?
And he's just a phenomenal musician.
Yeah.
And then Frank is just, as a finger picker, nobody around here can play like Frank.
He's top notch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What got you in music? Did you just grow up loving music, or did you see somebody doing it and decide, I'm going to try this? Like
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I always loved music. I can remember as a little kid even being kind of captivated by like commercial jingles. I just loved the melodic changes and why does that note go with that bass note, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I didn't know any of the details. I just was intrigued by it. My mother loved, like I said earlier, John Denver, Peter, Paul and Mary. This kind of folk stuff. She loved. She also loved a lot of classical music, so I heard that. I love Bach and some of those guys. My father and my older brother listened to country, just straight up, so listened to Don Williams and Kenny Rogers and Willie Nelson. And I love that.
Yeah.
My sister started getting into pop and rock in the 80s, so I latched onto that. I love that.
I rode that train too. Yeah.
But the big change for me, honestly, when I discovered, I was a late starter at playing music. I didn't start playing until I was in my early 20s.
Oh, okay.
And I wish I could go back and start it earlier. But when I discovered the sort of mostly British prog rock bands of the 70s, bands like Yes and Pink Floyd and the Moody Blues.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I started diving deeper into bands like King Crimson and Gentle Giant, and they were doing something so different, so unique, and so challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Howe, the guitar player for Yes from that era, when I first heard Steve Howe playing, a song like Roundabout, or a song like Close to the Edge, or a song like, And You and I, where there's this big majestic orchestral sound coming from a rock band, and then he would jump into this Chet Atkins style finger picking thing,
Yeah.
And it was just like it was just such a kind of whiplash turn into something completely different. And then these songs would be 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes long, and it would take you on a journey,
Yeah.
And I said British bands, but Kansas did the same thing. They were like America's answer to Yes, in my opinion.
Good point. Yeah.
And I just love that stuff. I've always loved things that kind of challenge your imagination. I love reading science fiction, So that music, progressive rock, was like the musical answer to science fiction for me. It was doing new stuff and going in new directions, and it just changed my whole life. And I said, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And
How old were you when you decided, I'm doing this?
Well, I started discovering those bands probably in around the age of 20, around 1990-ish. Of course, I knew Yes from Owner of a Lonely Heart,
Yeah.
But that was not the same band that had done Close to the Edge,
Yeah.
And I thought that was their first album, And then when I discovered what they'd done in the 70s, so early 20s, I started. The more I listened and the more I got into that stuff, it just soaked in to the point where I just said, I've got to try something. So I started with drums, and I started playing drums very poorly. And I gathered a couple of friends, and I would try to get people, you play bass, and you play guitar, and you play keyboards, and they'd mess with it for a while, and then they'd drift away, and then I'd have to do it.
Yeah.
So got me a little 4-track recorder, and I started writing songs, and I'd play different parts, and then bounce them all together, and then add more parts, and bounce them together, and
so you're like adding layer after layer.
right, yeah. And I ended up doing most. I had a couple friends that would come in every now and then, but nobody was really committed to it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got started.
That's wild.
We talked a little bit before about John Denver, when Kurt was here. My mother was a huge John Denver fan, so she played it for me when I was a kid. And it really was one of my life-changing, influences. Yeah. And probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching a tribute to Emmylou Harris. Yeah. And there were 2 sisters who were huge fans who had written a song as a tribute to Emmylou Harris. And I thought, well, that's really cool. Why have I never written a tribute song to John Denver? So I went and grabbed a guitar, and I thought, if I could talk to John Denver right now, this is of course 20-some years after he passed away. So if I could talk to him, what would I say? And 5 minutes later, I had this song. So it's called Find a Better Way. When I was a child, my mama played your records, singing about sunshine and home. I never knew back then just how much those songs would change me, how they'd slip into my heart and be my own. Thank you for your song, thank you for your spirit, thank you for the hope that we can see a brighter day. Thank you for your light, thank you for believing, together we can find a better way. Now as I grow older, your music still lives with me, even though you left us far too soon. I look back on my life and I see how much you gave me, and I really wish that I could say to you, thank you for your song, thank you for your spirit, thank you for the hope we can see a brighter day. Thank you for your light, thank you for believing, together we can find a better way. Mountain views and sleepy oceans, country roads and soaring eagles, wind and flowers, stormy deserts, old guitars and broken hearts, starlight shadows, dreams and memories, morning bells and butterflies, rhymes and poems, prayers and reasons, peace and love and hope and life. Thank you for your song, thank you for your spirit, thank you for the hope we can see a brighter day. Thank you for your light, thank you for believing, together we can find a better way. Together we can find a better way.
So you, as a musician, I mean, you're doing a lot of things. I mean, like you're making albums, and so for those who don't know, can you kind of share what you're doing? Like you're doing some solo stuff and group stuff. Like what are you doing musically these days?
So right now, my main focus is my solo gigs and solo material. Although I do have a band called the Green Swamp Collective. It's a 6-piece sort of Americana folk bluegrass band. We do have a drummer, so you can't really be a straight up bluegrass band with a full drummer.
Yeah.
But we have most of us sing, so we'll have a lot of harmony. We have a fiddle player, mandolin, banjo, guitar, bass, keys. So it's a pretty full sound. And we've released one album and of original music and I think 5 singles maybe.
Right.
And we're working on a second album now. And we're playing. You know, we don't play out a lot. We have a show coming up in Aiken in the middle of August. I think our next show in Sumter is in October. We'll be at the Sumter Brewery, and Simpsons has that Great Outdoors Expo. We're playing for that. So,
neat.
So we play, you know, a show or two a month, and have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
So, but mainly I've been in and out of a lot of bands over the years, duos, trios, full bands, praise bands, you know, folk duos, you name it. But right now, those 2 things are my main focus.
Right. And I'm sure, this probably isn't a fair question. I'm sure you love both, but if you had to choose one, like doing solo stuff or being with a band, do you have a preference? Or maybe it depends on what you're doing at that point in time.
The thing is, with any band, there are always going to be pros and cons. There's nothing better than having a bunch of people locked in, like the harmonies, the guitar parts that intertwine and then lock in with the drums and the rhythm. That's a magical feeling that you cannot do by yourself.
Right.
But a band made of 5 or 6 people, there's always going to be personal, clashes. People are going to disagree on things.
Sure.
Disagree on directions to go, and sometimes, you have to just, well, the band wants to go this way, and I really want to go that way, but
Yeah.
you got to go where the band wants to go.
Yeah.
And that, just like with any personal relationship, that can be challenging.
Yeah. Hard
but
to find symmetry sometimes, isn't it?
I would say impossible to find consistent symmetry.
Yeah.
There's always going to be issues that people disagree on.
Yeah.
The group that I'm working with now are probably as in sync as any band I've ever been in, but that still leaves a lot of, so honestly, to answer your question, I think to be happy, I'm going to have to continue to do both.
Yeah.
And plus, it's just making a living at it. I'm the only one in the group that only makes my living from music.
Right.
So when you can make more money playing as a solo, because you aren't splitting it 6 or 7 ways.
Yeah.
Because when we play with full band, we got to pay sound guy, or maybe two techs to help out. We got somebody running lights or running a merchandise table. When I play by myself, it's just me. I can set up a little PA in 15 minutes, and
Right.
so that's a lot easier, a lot less work to be able to pay the bills.
Right.
And it can be a lot of fun, but you miss that harmony.
Yeah, exactly. And you're still at Sumter? Is it First Church of God?
Yes.
So you're still there?
And in fact, about 3 years ago, John realized it was time for him to move on, him and his family to move on to a different church, and they did. So I kind of took over the whole role when he left.
So are you the worship pastor? Or?
Worship leader, band leader,
leader?
whatever you want to call it. That's
Yeah.
I'm the one who picks out the songs and schedules the people and that kind of thing. So
Man, I bet you love doing that.
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
It's been, like I said, it's been a blessing bigger than I can really explain.
Yeah. Being a worship leader, I've wondered about what it's like for y'all. I've never done what you do. I'm in the pulpit preaching.
Mm-hmm.
You're leading worship. And is it hard to balance? You've got your own worship to God, like you're singing to God, but you're also having to think about making sure the band, everybody's on pace, and making sure that everybody out there is okay. Is it hard to juggle all that in your head, or do you just kind of just let it flow organically? What's that like?
I try to just turn it all over to God. I try.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't always succeed. We might have a terrible practice on Sunday morning, but right before the service, and a lot of times that'll be in my head. And
Yeah.
Are we going to mess that? Are we going to train wreck that song in front of the congregation? It can be a real challenge to just go with that. And I try really hard. I pray about it, and usually I can. I don't want to say the wrong thing here.
It's okay.
I don't often. Sometimes I can't really get involved in the worship aspect like I wish I could.
I understand, because you got technicalities to think about.
Right. In addition to, is the band, is everybody going to sing the right part, play the right part? Is the projector going to work? That messes up sometimes right before service or between songs, and now I'm like, I've got to pull my phone out and text the guy up in the booth and tell him something's not right, and hope nobody says, what is he doing? Who's he texting up there? Or just there's so many things that can go wrong.
Right.
And most people never notice them.
Yeah.
But I still have some responsibility to try to make sure that they get corrected. And
So your brain's in high gear.
most of the time, yeah. And if somebody does get off on a song, and now we don't know exactly, everybody doesn't know where we are in the song and how we're going to get back together and end it together. And sometimes we don't, but that's okay too. So, but usually what I've found is, no matter how atrocious our practice is, usually if we can just turn it over to God and not worry, it usually comes together beautifully in ways. And sometimes when I'll leave thinking that was the worst performance ever, I'm so embarrassed, that's the days when somebody after church will come up and say, that song really touched me, I really needed to hear that.
Wow.
That happens more than you would believe.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning.
Yeah. And I would think too, for you, it's a thing of, it's tricky because you know you're in a position of leadership and you know that the eyes are on you, but at the same time, you're kind of like cueing these people to be praising their God. So it's probably a tricky balance to find there. You know they're looking at you, but you also really want them looking to God.
Right.
It's probably hard to find that.
It's funny that you mention that, because I've had that cross my mind so many times. I have to tell a quick story about one of my old guitar players there.
Yeah.
You do, if you play really well, you can't help but think, you know, did they notice how well I played that?
Yeah, I nailed that.
And I think, oh no, you can't. You
Yeah.
know, there's this weird battle between humility and wanting the recognition, you know.
Sure.
And then even when you kind of go, no, I can't think that way. And then I got to be humble. It's not about me, it's not about God. And then you start going, wow, did you see how humble I was there? You know, it's this real contradiction, and it's ongoing. So this story, I love to tell this story. I had a guitar player. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. He's a great guy. His name was Brian, and he was a good guitar player. He was kind of an old, you know, in the trenches hard rocker from the '70s. He had the long hair, and you know, he just looked the part.
Right.
And he was a good guitar player. You know, competent, solid. You could count on him. But one morning, just during the invitation, so my friend Jennifer plays keys. She was to my right. He was on the other side of her. We were playing a song for the invitation, and just right in the middle of the song, he lets go with this guitar solo that was absolutely perfect.
Oh, he nailed it.
He nailed it like David Gilmour would have been proud of that solo. I mean, the phrasing, the tone, the touch, everything. I went, wow, Brian really nailed that.
Yeah.
And I had no sooner had that thought, he had walked around Jennifer and leaned up in my ear and said, "Did you hear that lick I just played?"
He's feeling good.
He knew that he nailed it, and I had to laugh at that because it's such a, you know, it's not about us, but it is different. It's hard to completely lose that, especially when it's something you've put years into learning. You know? Right. It's very hard to stay humble, and of course it's not as hard for me because I'm not that good of a player. Honestly, I know that I'm a very, you know, average guitar player and a very average singer and all that. But still, every now and then you nail something, and you wonder who saw that and who missed.
Yeah.
Which is just terrible, and I try to get away from that.
Well, I don't know. I kind of wrestle with that. Like, you know, remember, like we're made in the image of God, and you go back to Genesis 1 as you've read it, and God made it, and it said several times, it's like God saw that it was good. Like, He was pleased with what He did. And so sometimes I think, well, you know, whether we're singing a song or preaching a sermon, I think as long as we don't go overboard, I think it's okay to sit back and think to yourself, that went pretty good. You know, not in an arrogant, cocky, look at me kind of way, but maybe there's something to be said for it's okay to feel good with what you just did.
I think as long as you give the credit to God for that.
Right.
Which, you know, we know, whether we recognize it or not, we know we could do nothing without Him. You know?
Exactly.
So it's a constant struggle to remember to give Him all the credit.
Yeah.
All the credit.
He gets the credit. He gets the glory. And I'd like to think we could feel a little satisfaction that it went well. I don't know. I don't know. I think about that kind of thing. But you're right. He ultimately gets the glory, not us.
That's right.
So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're leading worship. I'm glad you're doing that.
Well, I am too.
And if people ever want to come visit, you all are, Sunday mornings, is it 10:30, 11 when you have your
10:30. The service is 10:30.
Yeah, and you're on 521 in Sumter.
1835 Camden Highway.
Yeah. I visited your church one Sunday. This was about 3 or 4 years ago with some friends and loved it. It's a special church you've got.
It is. It really is. This is a bunch of great, like I said, this is an honor for me. I'm thrilled to be doing it. This one I wrote right out here next to the woods on this is probably 10 years ago now. Kind of like this nice cool weather we've been having after this terribly hot June or July. I wrote this on a beautiful, unseasonably cool July evening. I'd gone out just for a walk, and it was one of those evenings where there's a huge storm off to the north. You can see the lightning, but you can't hear it, but you can tell it's coming. The breeze is blowing, the cicadas are singing, and it was just, the sun is about to start to set. It was just an incredibly beautiful evening, and I made myself stop and be thankful for it. And I knew it wouldn't last, you know. So it's one of those times when you start thinking about how fleeting sometimes those beautiful moments are, and the paradox of the joy and the sadness in life, the blessings and the struggles. And so I just started, I kind of put this together out of that. It's called When the Time Comes. It's cool for July. You can see the breeze play through the trees, and the muscadine and cicadas sing their song to me. There's a storm to the north. I feel it moving in. There's rain in the wind, cool on my face and lightning, silent and serene. I wish it could always be like this, but the things that are fleeting we love the most. I don't know why we have to feel this way. A part of being human, I suppose. But I'll breathe the sorrow through 100 tomorrows, for I choose to rest when the time comes. Now the western sky turns from blue to red, but in the east the world is dim with a golden cast until it fades. And the night creeps in, and I take my place in its dark embrace. Just like before, I close my eyes and breathe deep. It won't always be like this. We will find a meaning where we need it most. I don't know why we have to feel this way. A part of being human, I suppose. But I'll breathe the sorrow through 100 tomorrows, for I choose to rest when the time comes. And oh, I try to walk, but I keep falling down. I try to keep my head up when I think I'll surely drown. The past, it will haunt me. The future will taunt me with its promise of beauty and pain. I don't know why we have to hurt this way. A part of being human, I suppose.